She wanted to date other people, so I showed her what freedom really looks like. My girlfriend asked to see other people before marriage. I said yes. 48 hours later, she was calling me nonstop, begging me to answer. What happened in those 2 days changed everything, but it started with the calmest breakup I've ever heard of. It was just another Tuesday afternoon. Claire and I sat at our usual spot, Riverside Café on Ashton Street, the one with the teal cushions and overpriced lattes. We'd been coming here every week for the past 3 years. 3 years. That's 156 Tuesdays, give or take. I knew her order by heart. Oat milk cappuccino, extra foam, 1 sugar. She knew mine. Black Americano, no sugar, double shot. We were talking about nothing important. Her new marketing project at Stellar Digital, some client who kept changing their brand colors, weekend plans that hadn't materialized yet, the usual rhythm of a couple who'd been together long enough that silence wasn't awkward anymore. I remember thinking how normal it all felt, how safe. We talked about marriage twice in the past 6 months. Nothing official, just those late-night conversations where you map out futures like you're planning a vacation. A small wedding, maybe in spring, her parents' vineyard or my family's lake house. 2 kids, a golden retriever, a mortgage we'd complain about but secretly be proud of. Looking back now, I realized she was already gone. I just didn't know it yet. She stirred her coffee slowly, that tiny silver spoon clinking against ceramic. The sound felt louder than it should have been. Then she looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before, calm, almost clinical, like she was presenting a quarterly report instead of dismantling 3 years of us. "Ethan," she said, voice steady as a metronome, I want to start seeing other people." Time did that thing it does in movies. The cafe noise, the espresso machine hissing, the couple arguing 2 tables over, all of it faded into white noise. There was only her voice, hanging in the air like cigarette smoke, impossible to wave away. My brain tried to process the words. Seeing other people, before getting married, like she was proposing we try a new restaurant, not blow up our entire relationship. I didn't move, didn't blink, just looked at her, really looked at her. Her hands were steady around that coffee cup, no trembling, no tears pooling in those hazel eyes I used to get lost in. She'd rehearsed this, maybe in the shower that morning or during her commute, practicing the words until they came out smooth and painless. For her, anyway. "All right," I said, my voice flat, emptied of everything. She froze, just for half a second, but I caught it. A microscopic shift in her expression, like someone had pressed pause on her face. She'd been expecting something different. Anger, maybe. Tears, definitely. Begging, most likely. The usual script when someone gets blindsided. Instead, I gave her nothing, just agreement. Something happened in that moment. Not heartbreak, though I suppose that was in there somewhere, buried under layers of something else entirely. What I felt was clarity, sharp, surgical, like someone had just handed me X-ray vision and I could suddenly see through all the bullshit I'd been telling myself. Every "we're fine" and "it's just a rough patch" and "she's stressed from work" crumbled into dust. This wasn't a woman having doubts. This was a woman who'd already made her decision and was just waiting for me to catch up. I stood up, pulled out my wallet and dropped 2 20s on the table, more than enough for both our drinks and a generous tip. "Take care, Claire." My voice came out even, controlled. Not cold exactly, just absent of her. Then I walked out. The door shut behind me with this dull, final click. Such a small sound for such a massive moment. But it felt like closing a chapter I didn't even know I'd been reading. Outside, the autumn air hit my face, crisp and sharp. October in the city always smelled like dying leaves and new beginnings, depending on how you looked at it. I wasn't a man who just been dumped. I was a man who just woken up. Here's what they don't tell you about moments like this. Sometimes the pain comes later. Sometimes your body goes into this autopilot mode where everything becomes tactical, strategic, like you're a general who just received intel that the enemy's already inside the gates, and now you're recalculating the entire battle plan in real time. As I walked to my car, parked 3 blocks down on Morrison Avenue, one name kept cycling through my head. Olivia. Olivia Chen, 29, same as Claire. Works in finance at the same building as me, different floor. We'd crossed paths at the coffee station maybe 100 times over the past 2 years. She was the kind of woman who didn't need to announce herself. You just noticed. Confident without arrogance. Sharp wit that could disarm you before you realized you'd been cut. Dark hair always pulled back in this sleek ponytail that somehow looked both professional and devastating. And she told me 3 weeks ago over lunch at that Thai place on 5th Street that she was interested. Not in so many words, but clear enough. "If she ever stops appreciating you, Ethan," Olivia had said, leaning back in her chair with this knowing smile, "I won't hesitate." I'd laughed it off, changed the subject to the quarterly reports or some other safe territory, because I was with Claire, because I was loyal, because that's what you do when you're in a committed relationship, even when a stunning woman basically offers herself on a silver platter. But driving home that Tuesday evening, October 17th at 6:47 p.m. according to my dashboard clock, I heard Olivia's words again. "I won't hesitate." And underneath them, Claire's voice. "I want to start seeing other people." I smiled, actually smiled, alone in my car on the highway. Not from happiness exactly, more like recognition, like finally understanding a joke you'd heard months ago. She wanted freedom. She wanted to explore. She wanted to test the market and see if she could do better than me. Fine, absolutely fine. But what Claire didn't understand, what she couldn't have possibly understood because she'd never seen this side of me, was that I don't lose at games I didn't know I was playing. I just changed the rules. The pain was there somewhere, floating around in my chest like debris from a shipwreck. But it was distant, manageable. What I felt more than anything was control. Cold, crystalline control. The kind that comes when you stop reacting and start directing. By the time I pulled into my apartment building parking garage, spot 247, I'd made my decision. I wasn't going to spend the next few weeks crying into my pillow or drunk texting her at 2 a.m. or showing up at her door with flowers and apologies for crimes I didn't commit. That's what she expected. That's what she wanted, even if she didn't realize it. The validation that she was worth fighting for, that she was so special I'd debase myself for a chance to keep her. No, I was going to show her what freedom actually looked like, and it wasn't going to look anything like what she imagined. When I got home that night, I didn't do any of the post-breakup cliches. No whiskey bottle, no scrolling through 3 years of photos on my phone, no checking her Instagram to see if she'd posted some cryptic quote about finding yourself or whatever bullshit people post when they blow up their lives. I took a long shower, made black coffee, Sumatra dark roast, the one that cost $22 a bag. Sat down at my desk in my apartment, the one that overlooks the city through floor-to-ceiling windows that cost extra but worth every penny. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. That specific kind of silence that only comes after every emotion has burned itself out, leaving nothing but ash and focus. I opened my phone, not to check on Claire. I knew better. Instead, I opened my messages and pulled up Olivia's contact. We'd been texting occasionally, mostly work-related stuff, but there was always that undercurrent, that awareness. I typed, "Claire and I are taking a break. Got any plans this weekend? thinking of a quick beach trip to clear my head. My thumb hovered over the send button, not because I doubted myself. I wanted to feel that moment, the shift from reaction to action, from being someone things happen to being someone who makes things happen. Then I sent it, direct, confident, no subtext, no apology, no explanation beyond the essential facts. The 3 dots appeared almost immediately. She was typing. Of course she was. Olivia was the kind of woman who kept her phone close, who responded quickly because she knew the value of timing. No plans. Beach sounds perfect. I'll drive. I smiled, set the phone face down on the desk, leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes. See, people think control comes from manipulation, from pulling strings and playing games. It doesn't. Real control comes from knowing the outcome before you make the move. I didn't need to chase Olivia. I just opened a door I already knew she'd been waiting to walk through. Claire thought she'd taken something from me, power, stability. My identity as half of Ethan and Claire. What she didn't understand, what she couldn't understand because she'd never had to, was that I don't lose those things. I reassign them. And right now, all that energy had a new destination. The next 3 days were routine on the surface. Wednesday, I hit the gym at 6 a.m. like always, did my usual rotation, chest and triceps, 45 minutes, then 20 on the treadmill. Showered at the facility, was at my desk by 8:30, answered emails, attended meetings, smiled at the right moments. Thursday was legs and shoulders. Friday was back and biceps. Normal, controlled, deliberate. But underneath, I was preparing. I booked us a room at the Seaside Haven Resort, about 2 hours down the coast. Not us in the way Claire and I used to be in us. 2 separate rooms. King beds, ocean view, the kind of place that looks effortlessly expensive in photos because it actually is expensive. $420 a night, times 2 rooms, plus resort fee. I put it on my Amex without thinking twice. I packed Thursday night. White linen shirt, navy blue shorts. The watch Claire gave me for my birthday last year, Tag Heuer, $3,200. I almost took it off, some petty symbolic gesture. But no, it was a good watch. I wasn't going to handicap myself because of sentiment. Sunglasses, the Ray-Bans. Cologne, but just a touch. The kind of careful preparation that looks completely careless. Before leaving Friday morning, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and really looked at myself. 31 years old, 6'1", 185 pounds. Decent shape, better than decent if I'm honest. Dark hair getting a little long, but in a way that worked. Brown eyes that could either warm you up or shut you out, depending on what I needed. I looked like a man who'd just been dumped. I looked like a man who'd allowed one chapter to end so another could begin. That distinction mattered. That distinction was everything. When I pulled up to the gas station on Route 44 Friday morning at 9:17 a.m., Olivia was already there, leaning against her white Audi sedan. She wore oversized sunglasses and a smile that tried very hard to look casual, but wasn't. Not even close. "Didn't think you'd actually text me," she said as I walked over. I shrugged. "I needed a break. You seem like the right company." Simple, balanced, a statement that gave nothing away while saying absolutely everything. Her smile widened. She got it. She understood the game we were playing, even if neither of us would say it out loud. During the 2-hour drive down Highway 101, we talked. Easy conversation, the kind that flows when 2 people are deliberately not talking about the one thing they're both thinking about. She asked about my job, some project I was leading. I asked about hers. She told me about her sister's wedding in December. I mentioned my brother was thinking about moving to Seattle. Music played from her speakers, some indie playlist that was probably carefully curated to seem spontaneous. She laughed a lot. I let her. The rhythm was effortless, no tension, no awkward silences. Just natural gravity pulling 2 people together who'd been orbiting each other for months. Somewhere between the highway and the horizon, I realized how light I felt. Not happy exactly, more like unburdened. The weight I'd been carrying, the constant low-level anxiety of wondering if Claire was okay, if we were okay, if I was doing enough, being enough, all of it had evaporated like morning fog. People underestimate that. The power of calm after chaos. It's the purest kind of strength. By the time we reached the coast, 11:43 a.m. by my watch, the sky had turned this impossible shade of gold. The sea stretched out, wide and indifferent, completely unconcerned with human drama. I remember thinking, this isn't revenge. This is reclamation. We checked into our separate rooms, 304 and 306, right next to each other. Olivia raised an eyebrow when the receptionist handed me 2 key cards. "Separate rooms?" she asked, not quite a question. "I like my space," I said simply, and I saw it register in her expression. Understanding, maybe even respect. I wasn't here to use her as a rebound. I was here to remember who I was before Claire had slowly convinced me I needed to be less. That afternoon, we walked on the beach. Olivia wanted to swim, so she did, while I sat on the sand with a cold beer from the beach bar, Corona with lime, $6 for a bottle that probably cost 90 cents. I watched her in the water, dark hair wet, laughing at nothing, and for a moment I could almost forget why I was here. Almost. Later, while she dried off with one of those oversized resort towels, she asked, "Mind if we take a picture? You know, to prove you actually relax sometimes." I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't asking for a picture. She was asking for proof, evidence, something that could be shown, shared, posted. "Sure," I said, "but let's make it look good." I took her phone, iPhone 14 in a cream-colored case, found the right angle, golden hour light coming from the left, positioned us close, her shoulder touching mine, but not too close, intimate but not desperate,
Professional, but not cold. She smiled, warm and genuine. I kept my expression calm, almost mysterious, the kind of photo that tells a story without needing words. When she sent it to me, I stared at it for a long moment. We looked good together, too good, and that was precisely the point. That night, sitting on my hotel room balcony with the ocean crashing below, I opened Instagram. I hadn't posted in 3 weeks. The last photo was of Claire and me at some brewery, both smiling, both lying. I uploaded the beach photo, just one. No caption, no location tag, no explanation. The timestamp read 8:37 p.m. I hit share and set my phone face down on the table. Didn't check the reactions, didn't wait for the likes and comments to roll in. Real control is knowing the reaction without needing to see it. I went to bed early, phone on silent, screen facing down on the nightstand. The next morning, I woke to my phone vibrating like it was having a seizure. 7:23 a.m. 5 missed calls, all from Claire. And texts, so many texts. "Who's that girl? So that's how fast you move on? Are you trying to hurt me?" Each one shorter, more frantic than the last. The progression from confusion to accusation to desperation, all laid out in blue and gray bubbles. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Old instincts kicked in, muscle memory from 3 years of being the supportive boyfriend. The urge to reply, to comfort, to explain, to make it okay for her even though she was the one who detonated everything. But I let that moment pass, set the phone aside, made coffee from the in-room Nespresso machine, some Colombian blend, opened the curtains. The ocean sparkled under morning light, endless and completely indifferent to human suffering. And that's when it truly hit me. The beautiful, perfect irony. For weeks, maybe months, Claire had held all the power in our relationship. She was the one who got to decide if we were okay, if I was enough, if this was worth continuing. Every conversation had been a test I didn't know I was taking. But now, without saying a single word, I'd taken it all back. The power had shifted. and she could feel it. Olivia knocked on my door around 9 a.m. "Morning," she said softly, reading my face. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," I replied, and I meant it. We spent Saturday exploring, drove down the coastal highway with the windows down, Pacific Coast Highway, that famous stretch where the road hugs the cliffs and every turn reveals another impossible view. Had lunch at this tiny seafood place that only locals knew about, fish tacos that cost $14 and were worth every penny. Walked through some art galleries, watched sunset from a viewpoint at mile marker 47. I let myself enjoy it, not as distraction, but as proof. Proof that life continued, that I could still feel things that weren't pain. By late afternoon, I checked my phone again. More messages from Claire. "Please answer. I need to talk. Can we meet when you're back? This is important." The desperation was palpable, bleeding through the screen. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I took another sip of my coffee, leaned back in the passenger seat as Olivia drove us back toward the resort, and smiled faintly. People mistake silence for weakness. They think not responding means you don't care or that you're hurt. But silence, when used right, is dominance. It's power. It says, you are not important enough to warrant my immediate attention. Your panic is not my emergency. That night, after dinner at the resort restaurant, some fusion place where they charged $38 for 6 pieces of sushi, I finally sent one message back. "What's wrong? I'm busy." 4 words, no punctuation except the period. Nothing cruel, nothing defensive, just cold, surgical precision. And it was enough, because in that single moment, the dynamic had completely flipped. I stopped being her option, and she became the one chasing closure. Sunday morning came with that specific kind of peace that only exists by the ocean, the kind that makes you forget cities exist. Olivia and I had breakfast at the resort, outside on the terrace where you could hear waves crashing against the rocks below. She was talking about some friend's drama, relationship stuff that felt ironic given our situation. I was half listening, nodding at the right moments, but my mind was somewhere else. Not on Claire, not exactly. More on the strange calm that had replaced where my anxiety used to live. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't even pride. It was just peace. The kind that comes when you finally realize you're not defined by someone else's choice, that you exist completely independent of their opinion of you. We drove back late Sunday afternoon. Olivia offered to drop me off at my apartment, but I told her I'd get my car from the gas station where we'd met. Kept things clean, simple. When we said goodbye in the parking lot, she hugged me a little longer than necessary.
"Thank you for this weekend," she said. "I had a really good time." "Me too," I replied, and it was true. Later, driving home alone, I thought about how easily control shifts in relationships, how it's never really taken from you, only surrendered. Claire had surrendered hers the moment she decided to play games. I'd won mine back by refusing to play at all. I got back to my apartment at 7:34 p.m. according to the microwave clock. The place smelled stale, like it always does when you've been gone for a few days. I unpacked slowly, methodically, put the clothes in the hamper. The linen shirt still smelled faintly of salt and sunscreen and Olivia's perfume, some floral scent I couldn't name. I poured myself a drink, Maker's Mark on ice, and stood by the window looking out at the city. Monday night lights, people coming home from work, lives continuing in their regular patterns. I didn't reach out to Claire, didn't feel the need to. For the first time in years, there was no urge to fix things, explain myself, or chase something that was running away. Peace isn't loud. It's the absence of noise you didn't realize was suffocating you. 2 days passed. Monday and Tuesday, work as usual. Emails, meetings, the normal rhythm. I saw Olivia briefly at the coffee station on Monday afternoon. We smiled at each other,
This private acknowledgement that we shared something now, even if neither of us was quite sure what it was yet. She didn't push for anything, neither did I. That's how you know someone gets it. Wednesday afternoon, 4:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number, but I recognized it immediately. Claire had texted from a different number, probably borrowed from a friend. "I'm at Riverside Café, the usual table. Please come." I stared at the message for a full minute. Felt nothing. No racing heart, no anxiety, no anger. Just mild curiosity, like I'd been invited to a meeting about something that barely concerned me. I could have ignored it, probably should have. But some part of me wanted to see it through, to close this chapter completely, face to face, so there'd be no wondering later. I got there at 5:30, deliberately late. When I walked in, I saw her immediately. Same corner table where this had all started, by the window with the teal cushions. She was already there, hands wrapped around a coffee cup like she was trying to draw warmth from ceramic. When she saw me, she tried to smile. It broke halfway through, crumbling like wet paper. Her eyes were red, mascara slightly smudged, the kind of mistake Claire never made. She'd been crying, recently. I walked over, pulled out the chair across from her, and sat down. Didn't say anything, just looked at her, calm and neutral, like I was waiting for a business presentation. "Ethan," she started, voice already shaking. "Can we talk?" I nodded once. "That's why I'm here." She took a breath, composing herself. I didn't actually see anyone, go on any dates. I thought I needed to be sure about us, about you, about this being forever." She searched my face for something, anger, relief, anything. I gave her nothing. "And then I saw that picture," her voice cracked. "That girl at the beach. You looked so happy, like you just moved on in 48 hours, like I never mattered." I stirred the coffee I hadn't ordered, but appeared anyway, probably from muscle memory. The barista knew us, knew our order, knew we were that couple who came every week. "Did I matter?" I asked quietly. "What? Did I matter, Claire? Because from where I'm sitting, you were ready to throw away 3 years to see if you could find someone better. That doesn't sound like I mattered much." Her tears started falling then, real ones, not the pretty kind from movies. Messy, running makeup, the whole thing. I wasn't trying to find someone better. I just needed to know, to be certain." "Certain of what?" My voice stayed level, clinical. "That I was good enough? That you couldn't do better? That's not love, Claire. That's shopping." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "You know what the problem is?" I continued, leaning back slightly. "You thought love was a test, that if you pushed hard enough, if you created enough uncertainty, I'd fight harder, prove myself, chase you, beg." I paused. "But I don't audition for roles in other people's lives. I don't compete for a spot in someone's doubt." The cafe hummed around us, coffee machine hissing, someone's phone ringing, a couple laughing at another table, completely oblivious to the quiet implosion happening in the corner. "I made a mistake," she whispered, "a huge mistake. Can we try again? Start over?" She reached across the table, her hand stopping halfway, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to touch me anymore. I looked at her hand, then back at her face, and realized something. The final piece of clarity I didn't know I needed. I didn't want her back. Not out of anger, not out of spite. Just simple, clean truth. We weren't right for each other. Maybe we never had been. "No," I said simply. "The experiment's over." So that's it? Her voice rose slightly. 3 years, and that's just it? That's it. I stood up, pulled out my wallet, and dropped 2 20s on the table, same as last time. Before walking away, I looked at her one more time. Not to hurt her, but to free myself completely. You thought you needed to find out if I was the best you could do. But the real question, Claire, the one you should have been asking, was whether you were right for me. I didn't wait for a response, didn't look back, just walked out of Riverside Café for the last time, door clicking shut behind me with that same dull finality. Outside, the air was sharp, November cold, the kind that clears your head and stings your lungs in a good way. Each step away from that cafe felt like shedding weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. 3 years of trying to be enough for someone who was always going to find you lacking. 3 years of walking on eggshells I didn't know existed until they were already broken.
For the first time in a long time, I wasn't reacting to someone else's story. I was writing my own again. I walked past the glass window and caught my reflection. Steady, unbothered, alive. I smiled. Not the smile of victory or vindication, just understanding. Freedom isn't freedom from someone. It's freedom from the version of yourself you became trying to keep them. And with that realization, I kept walking. The next few weeks were interesting. Claire tried reaching out a few more times. Texts that got progressively shorter and less frequent. I heard through mutual friends that she was really struggling, that she'd told people I'd moved on heartlessly. Funny how the narrative always shifts when you stop letting people write it for you. I didn't correct anyone, didn't defend myself. The people who knew me, really knew me, understood what happened. The rest didn't matter. Olivia and I kept seeing each other, casually at first. Coffee dates, one dinner, then another. We didn't rush into anything, didn't try to force a relationship out of what started as a tactical decision. But somewhere around mid-December, about 8 weeks after that beach trip, I realized I actually liked her. Not as a rebound, not as proof of concept, just her. She was direct where Claire had been passive-aggressive, confident where Claire had been insecure. She knew what she wanted and said it out loud like a rational adult. No games, no tests, no if you really loved me, you'd know what I'm thinking. It was refreshing in a way I didn't know relationships could be. On December 23rd, we had dinner at this Italian place in the city, Marcello's on 7th Street. Halfway through our meal, she looked at me and said, "You know, I'm not trying to replace anyone, right? I like you for you, not as an upgrade from someone else." I reached across the table and took her hand. I know, and that's exactly why this works. She smiled, real and warm. Good, because I'm not interested in being someone's revenge arc. I'm interested in you. Noted, I said, and I meant it. It's been almost 6 months now since that afternoon at Riverside Cafe when Claire asked to see other people. 6 months that felt like 6 years and 6 days all at once. I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything's perfect, that I never think about her or wonder what might have been if she hadn't pushed that button. But those thoughts are rare now, distant, like remembering a movie you saw once but can't quite recall the ending. Olivia and I are still together. We moved in together last month, a loft in the Arts District that we found on a random Sunday when we were just killing time. 2 bedrooms, one we converted into a shared office. Floor-to-ceiling windows, exposed brick, the kind of place I always wanted but Claire thought was too industrial. Life is good, better than good. I got promoted at work in March, a position I'd been working toward for 2 years. They announced it the same week Claire finally stopped texting. Poetic timing. My brother did move to Seattle. We visit him next month. Olivia's never been, so I'm excited to show her the city. Small things, normal things. The kind of everyday happiness you don't appreciate until you've lived without it. Last week, I ran into Claire at a mutual friend's birthday party. Couldn't avoid it. They'd been friends with both of us long before we were an us. She was there with someone new, some guy in finance she introduced as a friend, but who was clearly more than that based on how close they stood. She looked good, happy even. I was genuinely glad for her. We talked briefly, surface level stuff. How's work? How's your family? The weather's been crazy, right? When Olivia came over and put her hand on my lower back, this unconscious gesture of easy intimacy, Claire's smile flickered. Just for a second, but I saw it. "You look good together," Claire said, and she meant it, I think. "Thanks," I replied. "You look good too." And I meant that too. Because here's what I learned. You can forgive someone without wanting them back. You can wish them well without needing to be part of their story. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And somewhere between that beach trip and today, I'd reached that place. If I could go back to that Tuesday afternoon in October and give my past self advice, I'm not sure what I'd say. Maybe nothing. Maybe the lessons only work when you learn them the hard way. But if I had to say something, it'd be this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait for the second or third demonstration. And never, ever audition for a place in someone's life. Either they see your value or they don't. Their uncertainty isn't your responsibility to fix. Claire wanted freedom to explore, to test, to see if the grass was greener. And I gave it to her. But I also gave it to myself. That's the part she didn't expect. She thought I'd wait around like some loyal dog, hoping she'd come back and choose me after she'd sampled everything else. Instead, I chose myself. And that, more than anything else that happened, was what changed my life. Not the beach trip, not Olivia, not even the breakup itself. The moment I chose my own peace over someone else's chaos, that's when everything shifted. These days, I wake up next to someone who doesn't make me guess, who doesn't test me to see if I'll pass, who just sees me, all of me, the good, the flawed, the still figuring it out parts, and chooses me anyway. Every day, no conditions. I do the same for her. It's simple. It's easy. It's what love should have been all along. So yeah, Claire wanted to see other people before getting married. I said yes, and in doing so, I found something I didn't even know I was looking for. Myself. Better late than never, I guess. The end. Sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is let you go. And sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is let them.